Chapter 29. A lunatic, not an idiot. The library, always so neat and dry and dustless, was in shambles. The storm had shattered the windows here, too. Rain and wind howled and blustered inside, soaking the books and ripping out pages and leaving puddles on the floor and bookshelves. "We've got to go," Jonathan blurted out, taking a step inside. "And you've got to come with us." "Oh," the librarian answered calmly, turning and walking slowly into his wrecked library. "I don't think so. What kind of book would you like?" "No, really, we've all got to go. This is a hurricane. The whole place is flooded. The island's going under." The librarian stopped. He turned and looked at Jonathan in his hunched, twisted way. A small smile rose just barely to his lips. "Yes," he replied. "I know. It's the sea, come at last to claim her own." "Then come on, we've got to get out to higher ground." The librarian chuckled. "Yes," he said, "you do. The sea is coming." He reached up and stroked 99's dripping fur. "But I am staying." "You'll die," Jonathan insisted. The librarian shrugged. "I have lived long enough. I have never left this island. Where else would I go?" Jonathan shook his head and stammered, "No, but... The librarian turned and looked out at the storm through his narrow, shattered windows. "You must take the other boys higher, to the only part of Slabhenge that will last." "What? Where is that?" "The old lighthouse. Up, above the Admiral's room. The lighthouse was here first, before the asylum, before the school. It is built on the original stone, the true stone, of the island. The rest," the librarian spread his arms to include the wind-swept stone structure around him, "the rest is all built on sand, but the lighthouse will stand." "Come on, Jonathan," Colin whispered behind him. "We have to go." Jonathan cocked his head. There was something the librarian had said that stuck in his mind. "You must take the other boys." "You know," he said, looking the librarian in the eyes. "You know about the Admiral, about the grown-ups." The man's small smile grew just a bit. "I am a lunatic, not an idiot. I go at night to the kitchen. It's been terribly messy." The librarian paused, working his fingers into 99's fur. 99 closed his eyes and leaned back into the scratching finger. "And ice cream is my favorite food. It's kept in the freezer. Of course." "We didn't kill them. It was lightning. They were all outside, standing in a puddle. The Admiral had his sword in the air." The librarian said thoughtfully. "The Admiral was a madman, standing around in a puddle, holding a metal sword in the air, during a lightning storm." He pursed his lips and shrugged. "Sounds about right. For him." The librarian nodded, then looked to the nearest shelf. "Now, you must go, quickly, so we need to choose a book." "No, I can't really take one. We have to swim to get back. It'll get wet." The librarian clucked his tongue, his eyes still on the book's spines. "All of these books will be at the bottom of the sea very soon, and you cannot leave a library without a book. Here, this one." The old man pulled a book off the shelf. It was thick and bound in soft black leather. "Moby Dick, the story of a madman, lost at sea. He dies in the storm. The hero is the only one who lives." The librarian handed the book to Jonathan and squinted up sideways at him. "I don't think that is what will happen here. No, you will save them, Jonathan. Now go. To the lighthouse. Jonathan breathed quickly through his nose. Are you sure? Oh, yes. Go. Jonathan looked into the librarian's eyes. Thank you, he said. Jonathan turned to go. Wait, there is one thing you could do for me. What? The librarian reached up and plucked the monstrous rat from his shoulder. He pressed his lips for a long moment into the rodent's neck, then held him out with 2 hands toward Jonathan. Take 99 with you. You could save him, like the others. Jonathan gulped. The rat looked at him with curious, shiny eyes. He didn't hiss or snarl. Jonathan handed Moby Dick to Colin and reached out reluctantly to take the offered animal. 99 was surprisingly soft and predictably heavy. The rat sniffed for a second at Jonathan's hands and scrambled gently up to perch on his shoulder. The librarian watched. His eyes were wet and glowing. Yes, he said, you can save him. And maybe, when you're home, find him a wife. Jonathan nodded. Sure. A nice big wife. Yes, that's right. Now, off you go. Take a candle. I won't be needing them. Colin grabbed a candle from atop the closest bookshelf, and the 2 boys ran out into the corridor. Jonathan looked back once to see the librarian standing in the doorway with the door wide open. He was lit from behind by a few flickering candles, his hair whipped about by the wind. Rats were swarming through the open door by his feet, seeking the light and relative dryness of the library. Several of them had no tails. The old man made no move to stop them. He wouldn't die alone. Jonathan followed the light of Colin's candle through the hallways. The water was above their ankles. They arrived panting at the stairs that led down past the hatch. The water was much higher now than it had been when Jonathan came before. It was rising and falling and swirling, lapping at the very top step. It would be a longer swim this time, and now he had a rat. What do we do? We swim, Colin. That's how I got through, just a quick dip, down and then up again, no big deal. What about the candle? Don't worry about it, there's a lit lantern on the other side, just take a deep breath. Jonathan handed 99 over before Colin could think to push it away. He dropped Moby Dick with a splash at his feet. I can't believe I'm doing this, Jonathan said. He tucked his shirt into his pants tightly, then unbuttoned the top 2 buttons. Taking the rat back from Colin, he slid him into his shirt against his bare skin. He rebuttoned his shirt. The rat scratched and writhed against his body, squeaking and squirming. Come on, before you chew through my stomach. Without thinking, Jonathan dove head first, pushing off the top step as hard as he could to rocket himself through the water. As soon as the cold water hit them, 99 went crazy. He fought and tore and twisted. Jonathan gritted his teeth and swam as hard as he could, pawing and kicking at the black water. He didn't slow down when an upwelling of water pressed him against the ceiling. He didn't slow when the rat's teeth sank into his skin. He didn't slow when he saw through the salty murk the glow of lantern light up ahead. He didn't slow until his feet found the far stairs and his head broke into the air, and he stepped up out of the water. He climbed a few steps up. 99 was shaking and coughing inside his shirt. He struggled weakly against the wet fabric. Jonathan unbuttoned his shirt and pulled the bedraggled rat out. 99 coughed up some water and then slowly crawled back up to Jonathan's shoulder, his body shaking. Jonathan gave him a reassuring scratch. Colin's head popped up into the stairwell, gasping for air. Jonathan helped him up the slippery stairs, pulling the lantern from the hook. They stood panting, eyes on the dark water they'd emerged from. Well, Colin gasped. That wasn't so... His words were cut off by a wrenching, grating crack from below the water's surface. A great rush of huge bubbles rose to the surface, and with a sickening whoosh, the water began to rise more quickly. So quickly they could see it climbing and racing up the stairs in a rapid, steady surge. What happened? Colin cried, stumbling backward up the stairs. I don't know. I think something else just broke open. We gotta go. The water rose up the stairs faster than they could climb, nearly overtaking them before they reached the top. By the time they broke out into the hallway, the water was a surging wave that came nearly to their waists. Together they ran through the familiar hallways they both knew, winding back toward the dining room. The dark wall of water gurgled just behind them, slurping at the walls and sloshing around corners. 99 clung to Jonathan's shoulders with a firm grip of his claws. His tail slapped on Jonathan's back as they ran. They burst into the dining room just ahead of the wave. They almost ran into Sebastian and the rest of the boys. They were all crowded around the door, holding lanterns and candles. Sebastian was at the front, his sword out in front of him and a coil of rope thrown over his shoulder, a dark look on his face.